Hey guys, it's Christina. How's it going? Well, looking way back at the beginning of my career to now, I have noticed how much my classroom management has changed. I remember my first few years, it was hard. It was hard to get a handle on things with having all these kids in my class and trying to you know, teach all these things, and my classroom management just wasn't as good as it is today. And there were a lot of mistakes I was making. So I've tried to really change some of those things. I still have a lot of things to work on, of course, but I just want to talk about 10 common classroom management mistakes we may be making. So once we realize we're making those mistakes, maybe we can then change them. Number one mistake is not being consistent. It's so important for us to have consistency with them, to set routines, set certain expectations, and be consistent with it. If not, we're just gonna be all over the place and they're not gonna know what to expect from us. So for me, I try to set these procedures throughout the day. They know what to do when they get into my classroom in the morning. They know what I expect during math time, during transitions, and I have trained them on it. We practice it, and if they don't get it done correctly, I have them try it again, or we try and fix it. And I always have high expectations for it. So I think that consistency is really important for us to have. Number two, we are only focusing on the mistakes they're making. I think that is something that us as teachers can get into, especially because some kids, they don't thrive off of negative feedback. They just don't. I think what makes a huge difference is that positive feedback, and they might not ever hear it. Instead of being like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you don't do this, don't do that. Instead of saying that, we need to say instead stuff like, you know what? You really came into the room well. Thank you so much. I really love all the detail you're putting into your paper. What a good example you are to this other person by doing this. They need to hear that positive from us. And if we're just doing negative, they might not listen to it anymore. And some kids, like I said, will not pay attention to that, and they don't thrive off of that. Number three, I think sometimes as teachers, we might be too scared to discipline. For example, I've seen some teachers throughout my career that just want to have a good time and joke around with the kids and be the cool one and just be their friend and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it's bad to be friendly or have a good time or be goofy, but we should be their teacher, and we should be setting these expectations for them and following through with things, and making sure they're doing what they should be doing. And I think sometimes us as teachers, we think oh, I don't want to be mean, or I don't want to hurt their feelings or something like that. But we're not helping them at all when we just let them do whatever they want and break rules or, that type of thing. I know for me, I've set things up in my classroom where I have communication with them, and I talk to them, and I say, you know what? Why do you think this rule is in place? Why do you think it's important to follow it? And when I've done that, a lot of times they've thought it through, and they'll think, you know what, you're right. Not all of us should be doing that. We shouldn't be if I'm too loud, it could disrupt other people around me, and it might not help this other person. This person might have a hard time with it. So anyway, I think communication is important, and don't think you're being mean. You're just being their teacher and you're helping them. All right, so the fourth mistake we might be making is just staying in one area of our classroom. Don't get me wrong, it would be really nice to just sit there at my desk all day and just tell the kids what to do and stuff. But when you do that, you're not seeing how they're doing, you're not monitoring things. I know for me, when I'm teaching, I'll not only teach from the front of the classroom, I'll also go to the sides, the back, I'll walk down the aisles, I'll teach at my small group table. Sometimes I'll do some things from my desk. I'm just walking around and moving around the room. It just helps a lot with keeping things more under control, and you get to see things firsthand, and you get to see how they're doing firsthand as well. Number five, another thing that we might be doing is not being prepared or having things put in place to where it's disorganized. I know for me, even though I try to leave by 4 o'clock every day, I still try to like have a good handle on things with my lessons. For me, that's like the first thing I like want to have in place. So I have things in place like a schedule. I'll also have like routines posted. I have like little PowerPoints of like outlines of what I want them to do throughout a lesson. I like to have things really prepared so that they can see like, oh, like she's really on her game. Like she really wants me to do this. I feel like if it's disorganized, they're not going to know what you expect from them. So it's important to lay that out. Number 6, I feel like another mistake is handling things publicly. Let's say you have a kid that's acting up. I know for me, I'm not gonna like have a big, like create some big scene with them in front of everybody. For one, it's gonna embarrass them. 2, they act completely different in front of their peers. So if I have a problem with something, I'll just say, you know, something really quietly like, hey, I need you to please follow directions. Or if they're acting up or they're like calling out quite a bit, I'll say, please no calling out. And then after the lesson, I will call them over and say, you know what, we're having a big problem with you calling out. You're calling out so much, it could disrupt the lesson. What could we do instead of calling out? You know, or no, I'll answer your question, but you need to be raising your hand. You know, something like that. I think it's important for us to handle some of these problems a little bit off to the side instead of like embarrassing them or calling them out. Number 7, handling things emotionally. I would recommend if you are getting worked up about something, I would step away for a minute or 2. I would walk away, get something done, and then go back to the situation. Or if it's a big problem that needs to be addressed right on the spot, sometimes we'll say, you know what, I would like to talk to you about this. We will talk about it at the end of the lesson. Or in a few minutes, I would like to have you come over to the small group table so we can talk about, you know, what happened. Like maybe the kid was talking back or something like that. We need to handle things in a way where we're not going to be emotional. We are role models to them, so we should be showing them how to appropriately deal with the situation. And we are a professional as well. We are professionals, so we shouldn't be like throwing temper tantrums or like just like completely losing it. I think it's important for us to have strategies, methods to put in place for us to be able to handle situations. Number 8, not being clear with our expectations. It's so important for us to tell them exactly how we would like them to do things. So for example, if I'm going to have them work on an assignment, I'll tell them right off the bat, I'll say, okay, you can whisper, but please don't be louder than this. I will be reading with somebody, so I'd like to be able to hear what they're saying. I also would like people to be able to concentrate. Or maybe they're going to be silent reading. Then I'll say, okay, at this time, there is no talking because I need you to be reading silently. Or if we're testing or something like that. I think it's important for us to be very clear so they know exactly what they should be doing. If not, they're just going to be guessing and they're not going to know what to do. Number 9, too much downtime. I know for me, there's been some years where I didn't have as much planned and I didn't use every minute of the day productively. And I think it's so important for us to have like backup plans or things put in place so if we're done with the lesson, we have something really productive and great for them to do and not just a bunch of fluff. When you have more downtime, they're going to misbehave more because they're going to be bored, or maybe, yeah, I think that's the big thing. They're going to be bored. So we just want to make sure that we are using our time really well. When my kids are engaged, I really don't see as much like misbehaving or doing things they're not supposed to. So I will link some videos down below that relate to this topic. One I did recently was about classroom engagement. You might want to watch that one as well. It's pretty similar. Well, it's going to talk more about this topic. Number 10, not building a mutual respect. I know for me, that's like one of the first things that I really try to build with them is a respect. I try to respect their time. So for example, if it's recess time, I try to let them out right when it's time for them to go out. And if I do that, I feel like, okay, hopefully my time will be valuable to you as well. I'll also try to be kind and respectful to them in hopes that I will get that back. So I'm going to really handle things in a way that's respectful to them. It's so important for us to respect them as people, and hopefully a lot of times they will give that back if you're giving it to them. Okay, those are 10 common classroom management mistakes we may be making. I think it's important for us to be aware of them, so hopefully we will avoid doing these things in the future, and we will do things instead that will strengthen our classroom management and help us to create more of a better classroom atmosphere and to be able to manage our class as well. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.